You're listening to Two Chunks in a Hunk, a movie podcast where we give pumps and dumps.
Hello and happy birthday. Welcome to Two Chunks in a Hunk. My name is Jordan Wonders, and I am your birthday chunk.
I'm Doge, and I am also your birthday chunk.
And I'm Carter, and it's my birthday, and I'm the birthday chunk.
And my name is David Blease, and I'm back from a birthday hung.
That's right, ladies and gentlemen. For the celebration of our podcast's birthday, we have brought back the man, the myth, the abandoner, David Blease.
Boom!
So good.
So good to have you back, David. Why don't you tell people what's been happening in your life since you left?
Well, I had a big...
All right, so we're going to talk about the podcast and sort of what's been going on. We're going to celebrate a year.
That's right. Today is
Two Chunks.
Today is the 1 year anniversary of our very first episode. We're a full year old, full head of hair, full head of teeth. We're growing right up.
Man.
That is absolutely crazy. And, you know, you say it's the anniversary of our first episode, but it's actually not, is it, Doge?
It's not. And so here's kind of a roadmap for the next 20-ish minutes of your life, dear listener. We're going to take a walk down memory lane.
Yep.
And we're each going to take a little bit of time to super pump and super dump on this past year of being a movie podcast.
Absolutely.
And so we'll start it off. Let's talk about, I think that's a great segue. Let's talk about the very first episode that we ever recorded.
Shoot.
Well, the way I remember it.
So our first episode.
Should we back up further to the how
Conception
this podcast-
of the idea.
Let's back up further. Jordan, take us to your shower.
Yeah, so I was in my shower and I was showering and I just had this idea for a podcast where me and some buddies would talk about movies. But the original idea,
The lamest idea I've ever heard.
the original idea was for the podcast to be based around the idea of grabbing bargain bin movies from like a Walmart or a Target in the like $3 movie bin.
Bargain bins. You guys heard of these?
And yeah, what's the deal? And we were going to grab some of those and review those movies. And our original title would be Bargain Bin Reviews.
Which I still think is kind of a
Nice.
good idea for a podcast.
Yeah, it's a
So,
good
like,
idea. Didn't it
so
exist
dibs.
already? Not as
Does
a
it?
podcast, but as something.
How did this get made?
Yeah,
Maybe it
maybe
does.
Maybe that's it. But
dibs still on Bargain Bin Reviews.
Yeah,
That's ours.
No,
that
trademark.
was the gold lining of the idea.
But it slowly morphed into what it is now, which is worse
Yeah, somewhat
definitely
worse.
worse.
Let's talk about what was the original title. Do you remember that?
of our podcast.
Of our podcast. Do you remember what it was called?
Three guys with opinions.
Three guys
Oh,
with
that's
opinions,
right.
like
Yeah,
worst
that was
podcast
rough.
name ever. And Two Chunks in a Hunk is clearly so much better.
Well, and the original idea of two chunks and a hunk was that the hunk would rotate.
Yeah.
Much like it does.
Much like
now.
it does now.
Because what happened is they finally got somebody else. The replacement of the actual hunk was not a definitive hunk. So
Exactly.
it's like, now we have to change it.
Hunk's kind of nebulous at this
Right?
point.
Because I'm wondering, this is my first. So this is actually one of the biggest things about this birthday is that David and I get to do the podcast together. This is
I
the
didn't realize that. Good
This is
stuff.
the first time
They
we've
just
ever done that
high-fived.
together, and I really don't know how you guys do it, the chunks, when he's here, because I am losing focus so quickly.
Right?
Yeah.
Because of how hunky the room is right now.
It's so hot in this studio because of the heat sort of radiating off of David. Also, Carter and I are actually sharing a microphone for this
are.
episode, and we keep making prolonged eye contact with one another.
It's
while we
really
talk.
sweet. It's like Lady and the Tramp.
Yeah, there's a
little
lot
bit.
happening
Like you guys are
This is the night.
So just know that if you hear Carter and I speaking at the same time, we are mere inches away.
they're about to spaghetti smooch in the studio right now. So our first episode, the first episode of Three Guys with Opinions was a review of Man of Steel, much like the first episode of Two Chunks and a Hunk.
Yeah.
True.
And we recorded this whole thing. We were sitting on the couch in my apartment. Do you guys remember this? Facing
gosh,
the camera.
And Jordan was in the middle, and
Jordan
we were
was
on
in the middle,
ends.
we
And
were on the
basically,
ends.
we didn't talk. Me and Doge did not talk because you can't talk on a couch facing one direction.
Right.
Yeah,
So we
it-
basically had a conversation with Jordan, and then we had many side conversations as well.
It was
The
genuinely
shot was from
like
about the shins up.
genuinely like the most uncomfortable
It was so
like
bad.
like news type program where we're all just like delivering all of this stuff directly to camera. We're fishing so hard for any joke to
I
land.
think it clocked in at about 26 minutes
Yes,
long.
it was 26 minutes long.
And if you think we talk fast on this podcast now, you should hear that first episode. Maybe we can release it someday.
Yeah, maybe.
Give us some time.
I'm undecided if we'll ever release that.
It's so bad.
If there's a big demand for that episode, if you want to hear that episode, please let us know and like sweeten the pot a little bit for me because I don't want anybody to hear this one.
Yeah, make
It's
sure you
very bad.
subscribe to our podcast.
Subscribe to the real podcast, and we'll show you the bad one.
That you're subscribed, we might think about it.
Hey, there you go. That's it.
Will you be able to hear us? Because I felt like we didn't have microphones. We just sat on the couch. We may have one boom.
We had 2 microphones that we were trying to
my
put
gosh,
in between
yeah.
us. It was just
Can you imagine sharing a microphone?
That would be crazy, right, Carter?
Like kissing
oh my
someone
goodness.
who you like, but not that much.
Kind of.
so. Yeah, that's where we began. It was
Yeah.
a real grassroots. It's a real inspirational story.
It was
I
a rough
think.
start. That was a rough start.
The first 5 minutes of when they make the biography,
Yeah,
the movie,
when they make our documentary.
You always thought they were rolling in money?
No,
Silly you.
not at all.
It's so funny because I feel like the 3 of us would just be played by Josh Gad, Seth Rogen, and Jonah Hill, and then David would be Brad Pitt.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
I take it. Yeah, I'll do Gad.
I guess I'll take Hill. Oh goodness. So we sort of formed the podcast out of some bad idea manure, and from that manure blossomed what is now our
Podflower.
show.
Exactly.
Podflower.
And then our final stage of metamorphosis was shedding the carapace that was David and sprouting the butterfly wings that are Carter Willis.
And that was so cool.
Does that make me the freaking caterpillar?
No.
You're the cocoon.
You're the caterpillar's poop that he lives inside for like a couple of
Like
weeks.
from butts.
Yeah.
At this point, I was a chunklet at the time, but I was such a big fan of this, and then to even be asked to give it a trial run was pretty cool because the 4 of us used to all do some fraternity life together, and this would just happen. What made me think about this is having the 4 of us around. We would. Maybe another person or 2 would join us, but like the ones that could hang were like the 4 around this table to where we'd go find a campfire or something and then just go off, play movie games, all that kind of stuff. So that's probably why I was even on the minds of Doge and Jordan to ask to try and replace David. But yeah, life changer, honestly. It's been...
So
pretty great.
One thing that I think we kind of want to do, and we can take some time maybe to do that now, is we actually want to super pump and super dump on our year as a podcast.
Yeah.
So do you think we should go one at a time, both super pump and super dump, or if I may, super dumps all around, super pumps all around?
Yeah, end on a positive note.
Yeah,
I like
I'll go
that.
first for super dumps.
Yeah.
Okay.
My super dump is that I had to watch Suicide Squad for a second time,
Fair enough.
which I will never do. But a close second was 24 Hours of Fred Claus, which I still feel like I am recovering from.
If you're late to the party, this is something that we did last Christmas, and we may do this Christmas.
I don't want to
again.
commit to anything yet.
Last Christmas, it was a fundraiser,
Yeah.
like to raise money for Toys for Tots. I guess
Most fundraisers don't have to ask.
certainly wasn't a fundraiser.
Nice,
but
nice.
we watched Fred Claus on repeat for 24 hours, and then gave little mini reviews in between.
Boy, did we.
Wow.
So definitely check that out if you want to listen to 3 grown men who are at the very end of their rope because
The
of Vince
brink
Vaughn.
of sanity.
Exactly.
One of the biggest dumps was doing it. One of the biggest pumps is watching it.
100%.
It's the kind of thing where like after this, on like round 6 of Fred Claus, it suddenly becomes like the funniest thing in the world. We're like,
Yes.
this again?
Yeah.
Vince again?
I have heard Surfin' Bird more times than I want to for the rest of my life. But David or Carter, one of you guys want to go next?
So my super dump was easier to think of than my super pump because something happened early on. And it's not like it was this, because of this opinion, I don't want to be a part of this anymore. It was also a beautiful thing because it's great when we don't agree. But if anyone remembers back when I started, when we did the Summer of Love, Jordan wonders, God had forsaken us on one of my favorite movies of all time. And
true.
just dumped all over
movie?
Keira Knightley and Pride and Prejudice and Mrs. Darcy. And he said, no, Mrs. Fartsy. And then I think it was like 2 episodes. I remember leaving that episode and being like, have I blown it? Because I think I like questioned, and I realized this has happened more than once since, but questioned my co-host's salvation in the moments. And I basically was like, Jordan, here's what's wrong with you. And I was just like, this is such a good movie. But that would be a fun super dump to come up with, I think.
Sure.
That's so funny to like listen back to stuff and try and, if you're into this is our kind of like ARG. This is like our one level deeper game of Two Chunks and a Hunk. Listen back and try and find the episodes where we're genuinely angry with each other for our ratings.
You can find them.
Like that was one of those times I distinctly remember I was very frustrated with you, Jordan. I was like, you just don't get it. This movie is this and this and this and this. And you're like, no, it's that and that
Wasn't
and that.
it
and
God
that.
Has Forsaken Us for you?
I think so, yeah.
Have we ever been on the opposite end of the spectrum? Because I bought the poster for that movie.
I think that's the farthest.
Oh,
I mean,
wow.
The crazy thing to me about that movie is how bad it was. Anyway.
Those? Are we not giving pumps yet?
Not yet.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, relax.
Come on,
I know
my
it's
bad.
been a while.
I'm so
but
excited to be back, you guys.
I think my super dump would have to be, and I'm going to paint a word picture. A picture that you are on a much needed vacation with your wife, right? And the two of you are spending time up in Portland, Oregon to celebrate 1 year of marriage, one entire year of matrimony. You have some good friends back home that you do a podcast with, and you get a text from them that says, hey, I think it's pretty tight how this episode was like a behind the curtains unedited thing. And you respond to that text and say, what do you mean? And your other friend responds to that text and says, there's no edits or music or anything. That man was me. I uploaded.
Wait, what?
Right, I know. I
forgot about that.
This is for our
Memento.
magical announcement. I uploaded
I listened to it and I was like,
I uploaded the unedited episode, and it was so funny because Carter, I highly doubt that you were trying to be passive aggressive, but it totally felt like I love how you can just wear anything. I love how you just uploaded an episode without editing it at all.
A lot of confidence.
It's so
So cool. So I guess, peek behind the curtain. We do edit episodes. We cut them down because we're bad at podcasts. So we cut out a whole bunch of stuff that kind of distracts from the listening experience unless we forget
Like
to.
our voices and opinions.
Like our voices and opinions, exactly. Yeah.
There actually is normally a fourth chunk, but they're...
David,
just edit them out
David
completely.
didn't actually leave the show.
David's been here the whole time. We're finally...
So that's your super dump then.
Super dump would be
were
that.
you on vacation?
I was 100%. I was on vacation.
Anniversary vacation.
Anniversary vacation, just like fat chilling.
Rough.
Uploading wrong
That's
episode.
rough.
Yeah.
Well, David?
I'm thinking about all my super dumps or the possible super dumps. I think about how long it took to make intros.
You did?
Yeah.
We have cut that down a lot, by the way.
No,
since
you
we-
have, and I appreciate that. It had to be an hour.
Easy.
Easy.
Man.
If that, an hour, maybe more, to just be like, was that funny?
Yeah.
Could that be an intro?
That was so rough.
We guys think about cotton candy. It's like, oh, cotton candy. Is that funny? Could that be an intro? So that was the worst. I remember at first the original idea was to give thumbs up and thumbs down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then have a super pump and super dump. And then we ended up using pump and dump like 1,000 times in the first episode.
Yep.
And we were like, yeah, thumbs up suck. Let's not do that. But I think the super dump was leaving
Whoa.
Oh, man.
the black cat.
Dang.
You know?
Man. When I'm editing this, I'll just add like the Full House, like super sentimental
No,
music.
do the sad Hulk walk away alone on the road.
Exactly.
Yeah, leaving the podcast was hard because I love you guys and love seeing you guys every week, and I don't have any friends anymore.
Oh my gosh.
However, my real super dump
Uh-oh.
is something I can't even talk about because it can never be seen by human eyes.
Wait, I think my human eyes have seen this.
My goodness.
Have my human eyes seen
Yes.
this?
You have
This
seen it.
made me so uncomfortable.
There is something that if it ever got out, not only would I lose my job, kids, family, reputation.
I'm totally okay with the mystery of this for our
the
listeners.
story, please? You're not on the show anymore.
I don't know if we can tell the story even. I think it's kind of like one of those times where
What if I don't say it's you?
yeah, you can.
So I've got this.
It's kind of like one of those things that you do in high school that you need to tell your mom that you did post-college. You know what I'm talking
exactly.
about?
Yeah.
It's one of those. Like, we got to give it a few more years.
You're post-podcast at this point, so I think it's probably
true,
okay.
But I said post-college after high school, so there needs to be 2 graduations.
Are you ever going to see this guy again?
I do see this guy.
Does he listen to our show?
I don't even feel comfortable saying that.
Yeah, I was gonna say if he listens to the podcast, if you can confirm that, he already knows what we're talking
Tim.
about.
He doesn't listen to the podcast.
We established that in this particular interaction.
There's a good chance he checks every once in a while. But
Just don't tell anybody you're on another
the
one.
biggest super dump of all time is the cringiest thing that I've ever watched. I lived it.
Yeah.
And
if you want to know more, reach out to David personally.
Or me.
Or me.
we have it, and it's a video that is locked in
It's
our
still
YouTube.
on our YouTube channel. It's just private.
But if you saw it, I've shown it to a good amount of people that I'm very close with, and that I have we've like written confidentiality, legally binding. Yeah. And you can't watch it without covering your face.
That's true.
Yeah, it's rough. It's rough. So David had a particularly uncomfortable interaction.
And it started with a good idea, though.
Well,
It was a good idea.
It was an idea.
And it literally, it could not have gone worse.
that's correct.
So not to leave the viewers in suspense.
Well,
because
too late.
we're never going to tell them what it is. Or
Yeah,
at least not for a
totally.
few
Yeah,
years.
totally.
Definitely never gonna do that.
David. Yeah, totally. We're never gonna release that.
Tune in next episode.
I'm gonna watch
totally.
those. Gonna be like bow 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 video.
So I feel like it's only fair now to turn around and slap that bad boy with the super pump of the year.
Let's do it.
From everyone.
Do it.
I'll go first once again. For me, it was actually the Fast and Furious series. I enjoyed it so much. I laughed a lot. I learned a lot. I made a new lifelong best friend in Jesse Iwuji.
Right?
It was my favorite thing we've done so far. And I've got high hopes for Do You Believe in Magic? And I'm loving that so far too. But man, Fast and Furious was a blast for me.
I think, and we might as well, if it's genuinely both of our super pump, we might as well share it. So I'm going to. But the Fast and the Furious series, the summer, what did we call it? The Fastest and the Furiousest?
Fastest and the Furiousest.
Yeah. So for me though, it was because it was such a unique experience and like kind of a perfect storm of very organically and live going through the feelings. I don't know. I mean, we got turned. Like we turned
Yeah,
by the end.
we really did.
We were Fast and Furious fans. And it's so
Genuine.
I think it would be fun if you've got the time, and I want to do it sometime too. Listen to Fast and Furious and then listen to Fate of the Furious and hear the complete difference of that.
That's so true.
Because we got to just kind of like, and we talked about how Jesse was kind of the analogy for all of it. He was like the microcosm of everything, of just like, this is a joke. Wait a minute, this is legitimate. Oh my gosh. This is amazing.
Yep.
And so to do that and kind of do that all together, I don't know. I think that also kind of separated us as a podcast in terms of going out on a limb and A, doing that series, and then B, kind of getting to experience that with the listener, because there were several people that were actually fans of Fast and the Furious that were like, dude, I'm kind of offended. And we got that. Like early on, we got that. Why are you offended? These movies suck. But then later we're like, oh, it's because you've owned the whole series and not just the last 5 movies.
Exactly.
But it was really cool.
Yeah. Hey guys, and you guys are gonna have to make this call for me. Is my super pump allowed to be doing the podcast?
Yeah.
Feels like a cop out, but go for it.
I don't think it does.
I mean, it was going to be Jesse Iwuji, but we have to have some sort of content. We can't just everybody say, yeah, me too, at the end of this episode.
All right, go for it.
My super pump is probably doing the podcast. Like, this has been some of the most fun that I've ever had. One of the things that I am most proud to have made.
Hate to see it end, you know?
Yeah. Sucks that this is our last episode.
Happy anniversary of death.
Happy death anniversary.
Forever.
But just like, I think back to when we did the first episode of Three Guys with Opinions, and what a train wreck that was.
True.
And then, I don't know if we've told this story on the show before, but when we recorded our Batman versus Superman episode.
Oh my gosh,
Our
dude.
second ever episode.
Carter, you don't even know this, do you?
No idea.
Jordan had a particularly colossal.
So it was a
mess
good
up.
episode.
It was good.
It was a good episode. Like it was one of those things where we were like, oh man, we were funny.
Well, it was one of those ones where it's like I had like a month to edit the Man of Steel one, and it was like, all right, we got to put out another one of these next week, and so we were like on a roll. We were so excited.
Yeah, we felt like we were crushing it. Like it was so good, and we finished, and we were like, all right, time to wrap it up. Oh, and we recorded super late that night. We finished at like 12:30.
Yeah, it was very late.
Like after midnight, and we were like,
This brings back all the crappy memories.
we were
of
like,
this
we were like,
day.
okay, sounds good. Okay,
Was your mic muted or something?
and Doge goes, let me check the audio real quick. And my mic had been muted from about a minute and a half into the episode until the very end.
So if you go back and listen to that episode, the only thing we saved from that first recording was my synopsis. So if you you can go back and listen. I don't know if people have noticed this, but when I'm giving the synopsis, the other guys' mics are not on. That is just my mic, and like there's no interaction from them.
That's back when your synopsises used to be about 12 minutes long, but also that synopsis is the funniest thing you've ever done.
Well, because I was trying to muscle you guys off the show. Like
Sure.
eventually
Yeah,
it was
yeah,
just going to be me, and like the whole thing was going to be a
solo
synopsis.
project,
It's a podcast.
Well, that was the
called-
reason it was so devastating, was the opening was so good, and we are like, we can't do that again.
also, we had to start over at about 12:30 at night.
That was so rough. Man, that was rough. But I mean, I guess my super pump is just like those kinds of memories and experiences, and like what we've learned from that, and how we've like grown in terms of our like production quality. And I say this after spending about 50 minutes of our recording time today trying to figure out how to plug 4 microphones
And
in.
there's really no telling how Carter and I's voices are going to sound in this episode
But
either.
it does look like you're kissing, so I love that.
Yeah, that's a big plus
Me
for
too.
me.
My super pump is honestly leaving. Yeah. I have another super dump though.
Wait, what?
Whoa, what are you doing?
Hey, I'm not on this podcast. I don't have no rules. My super dump is that you didn't let me do my T'Challa impression because you thought it'd be offensive.
Yeah, I stand by it.
I still think it's offensive.
Okay, fans, here's what's gonna happen.
Go over, they're hearing nothing. What
Subscribe to
David's
David's David's solo podcast where he just says everything we say, but in a kind of racist African accent.
It's called Can You Blease It?
Oh, nice.
Do you bleast in magic?
But my super pump is kind of just the evolution that the show has taken. One being in it, but also from afar, and also the confidence that it's been able to give me, and I'm sure you guys as well, of just doing something. Because we talked about it before. There's no way that this show exists. Like, this is a dream, because how often have we been like, you know what we should do?
Oh,
Right.
my gosh. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, we've probably had like 8 podcast ideas, 3 books, a couple albums. Like, we've never done anything that we've put our minds to, because we're just creative and we just want to throw ideas out into the thin air.
Yeah.
But the fact that this is even a thing is incredible. And I remember early on, probably our first like 5 episodes, every episode, and you probably remember this, I'd just be like, was that good? I don't think that was good. Was that funny? Was that interesting? Like, I don't know. And then every time listening and then being like, oh, this is good. Like, this is fun to listen to.
Yeah.
And just realizing that, you know, we can do it, and gave me confidence to go out and do whatever's on my heart, even if it fails. And even
Your next creative project, like your baby.
My next podcast that I'm going to jump on.
In talking about like the growth of the show, I mean, because I get to just kind of jump in halfway, and on the very early episodes when it was like with me, when it was like one of the first ones that you weren't there, I'm like looking at Jordan and Doge afterwards, and I'm like, this doesn't feel fair. Like, I get to come in when it's already this well-oiled machine, and then just ride this thing that David helped build, and so it's just like, it's really cool to have been a part of like post foundation and just like jump in and get to do it. So it's been awesome.
And it's cool on the other end, being on the foundation and then watching it sail off into the sunset. And I'm excited for the superhero ones that I'm going to come back for, guys, right?
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, like you did for Ant-Man. That was
Exactly
really
like
cool.
you did for
Thank you so
Ant-Man.
much.
The one time you asked me to come back, I'm on vacation. You jerks.
It'll be the 4 of us, but I'll act like I don't know anything about superheroes.
Wait, which one's the bat?
Because we do have
Oh, man.
I don't want to review
talk
Venom,
about that.
to be honest with you.
I don't even want to talk about that.
By the time this releases, Venom will already
Okay,
be
but
out.
you realize how many
So I guess we
terrible
can't do it.
superhero movies are going to come out. The DCEU is still rolling. Aquaman looks awful.
Aquaman does look awful.
It's going to be great.
It does look awful.
We have to talk about the fact that the naming of the Hunk and the Chunk completely shifted to now what is so much better, which is it involves the movie that you just watched.
A quote from the movie.
Because if you go back to the early episodes, you're always Chunk, which is great, and it's the foundation, like we've talked about. Foundation.
Y'all,
is
the
key.
first episode is so cringy when we're trying to come up with our names. It's so uncomfortable.
Well, it started as like Chunk, the Vice Chunk,
The Vice Chunksiple.
and I was like Hunk in
Chunkerberry
the
of
trunk,
State.
and Huckleberry Finn, and then
Huckleberry Finn is gold.
That's
though,
a
is
good
the
one.
thing.
That's a good one. Do you remember when we were doing the Marvel movies and every week you forgot that we do a
It's
nickname
true.
and you're just like, I'm Thor the Hunk World. I'm Iron Hunk 3.
those are honestly better than the ones that I came up with on the spot. I don't know what was the movie that switched though. I think you
started with
doing
MCU.
it. Was it MCU?
Yeah, yeah.
There's no way. Was it really?
Yeah, it was that
I
late.
think so. Do we want to go around real quick and talk about our funniest moment of the show? Carter, you want to go first?
Yes, please. It's literally one of the funnier moments in my life because I listened to this part of the podcast several times. And honestly, if we get something that's funny enough in which all of us got tickled and you probably don't hear the whole laugh track on the actual podcast that gets published, sometimes Doge or Adam or somebody will cut that for us and we just get to have it. And I think we might have done that for this, but there's a point when we came up with the Coronas brothers. Jordan came up with this. It even got our first fan art was maybe
Yeah, it was a big deal.
perhaps birthed from this.
Thanks, Stacy, for that.
And we had an outro to where Jordan and I were on the very much same page to start singing the Los Lonely Boys song, How Far Is Heaven?
I was not only not on the same page, I was in a different book written in a different language.
Yes, and you were so much lower when you came in, but he's basically doing the outro and he's like, that's it for two. How far is heaven? Just trying to catch up with us, and we just kept it. And I just, the laughter that you hear immediately after is very much genuine.
That's on our
And
Fast
also
5 episode.
Went on for so much longer than
Yeah, I
that.
trimmed a
wish we
whole
could
lot of
have
that.
We had to cut down the last 2 minutes of laughing.
If we're talking funniest moments, mine was a couple of weeks ago whenever we were doing our best Fox noise to outro the episode.
Stealing mine.
And Carter came out of nowhere with his second ever bird noise on our program. That is in the Chamber of Secrets episode, so take a listen to that one.
My funniest moment, I have two that tickled me the most. One, BVS opening with Doge,
Oh my gosh, that was so good.
because
Thanks.
you
It's
kept
good to know-
you kept on thinking it was going to end, and you did not think it was going to
never
go.
It is so good to know that I
Literally.
peaked with the second episode of our show.
And then I really got tickled by the Dark Elf asking the waiter
Oh my gosh.
for everything, everything that involved darkness.
Yeah, that was just off the cuff. You know,
That was a J Brain original.
sort of how I do. Honestly, I know we've probably talked about it a little bit at this point in the show, but it's got to be that awkward moment that David is talking about.
Oh gosh.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a rough
that
one.
awkward moment that we apparently can't talk about.
Not for
In
a
this
few years,
episode,
baby. Not
but,
for a few years.
I struggle to think of a time I laughed harder in my life.
Or cringier.
Yeah.
I was about to say I had to leave the room.
Yeah,
I think
you both left the room.
Oh yeah, we were gone.
I was by myself with Adam.
We were gone. The only reason Adam stayed is because he literally had to continue recording what was happening.
Yep.
But yeah, I mean, I think I ate a whole pillow trying to stifle my laughter.
Speaking of Adam, I want to give an enormous shout out to
Yeah.
Adam. Adam's actually not here with us today, and we definitely
peace, Adam.
We definitely
As we go on,
It's been a long day without you, my friend.
be a long day.
But yeah, we definitely felt Adam's absence today as we're
Yeah,
trying to
for sure.
figure out all this tech stuff. Adam, you're the man. Thank you so much for working for us completely for free
Yeah.
and doing all that you do and making our
shout out.
show sound good. So
Yeah, thank you, Adam.
you're the man. Thanks, Adam. If you're listening to this, give Adam a big hug next time you see him.
So for the last minute or so of this episode, what I'd love to do is have David do a solo 2 Chunks and a Hunk episode about 2 Chunks and a Hunk, the podcast.
Yeah.
So just give
Something
us
you guys talked about?
just give us your situation, give us your pumps, your dumps, your super pumps, your super dumps, and yeah, man, just really feel free to explore the space. Sort of everything that we've laid down. Just know that our fragile egos are mixed up in the balance of what you say next.
Okay, well, 2 Junks and a Hunk started as a podcast with 3 guys with opinions. It starts off as this weird, just collection of ideas on a couch facing one direction. conversation. I'm going to actually give a super dump on the couch, both as a whole, as an item that you purchased for your home.
What a dumb couch. Who would have that in their home?
But then in Act 2, it really picks up when we finally got around a circle table. We were able to see each other, have conversations.
It was a rectangle.
I'll give a pump, not a super pump, but I'll give a pump on the fact that we were able to actually have a conversation together and actually get through some of these ideas and these screenplays. Doge was constantly changing. I felt like every episode it was like, is this a synopsis of the whole movie? Is this just a synopsis of one of the characters? Are we going to go a through line?
Hey, spoilers for you, bud. That doesn't ever change. I have no idea what I'm going to say till I say it.
Yeah, so I'm going to dump on that for sure. We started with the DCEU, which was a pump for me because the movies were so bad, but we loved the material so much. MCU was a pump, kind of a pump dump. I don't know if we can even do those anymore, but a pump dump because I love the MCU, but it was hard to rate something that you only love. But there were a few episodes, thank God we had the Dark World to dump all over.
Worst.
And then I'm doing a solo one. Can we cut that out later?
Yeah. Cut my
I'll edit that. I'll edit that out.
And then I left, and we had the amazing Too Fast and Too Furiousnesses, which was great.
Yeah, fair enough.
No, let it sit.
Please don't interrupt me again. And then, it was Summer of Love first, and then it was Fast and Furiousnesses of Love, and then. We got into the Do You Believe in Magic, which I think is a super pump for me to not only just talk about one magical movie experience, but bring two together and to juxtapose them is just brilliant. And it really speaks to the show and the creators and the people that helped lay the foundation and that later left. So just super pumped to the foundation that was so strong and just the minds that helped, get this to where it is, that now it's just such a well-oiled machine that, it doesn't even matter who does the podcast or who says anything. It's just all about the foundation. So anyway.
Well, thank you, David, for our closing bit of this episode, the special birthday episode. I would like for Carter, Doge, and myself to do our best David Blease impression as our sign out, and for David to do whatever he pleases. More like whatever he pleases.
Nice. Excellent.
That was sexy.
Everybody
Say it
ready?
one more time, slower.
Everybody know?
Yeah.
For 2 Chunks and a Hunk, I'm David Blease, and I abandon everyone I care about.
And for 2 Chunks and a Hunk, I am also David Brees. And I just want to say that my muscles are real.
For 2 Chunks and a Hunk, I'm David Blease. And it's
Do a real impression, Doge.
Do a real impression, Doge.
Now we're talking.
So, I'm David Blease, and I hate podcasts.
All right, I'll do an impression of all three of you guys. Hi, I'm Doge, and I like computers. And where do these wires go? Can you come 6 hours early so I can make sure these mics work? Okay, let me do Jordan now. And Carter's the best. Carter, he's more like, he's so smart and he uses big words and
Big words.
Yeah.
My pumpamus dumpamus is like the scientific word for pump.
Well, from all of us here at 2 Chunks and a Hunk, we're thankful that you celebrated our 1-year birthday here with us.
Thanks for coming to our birthday party.
Thank you, guys.
If your gift sucks, you're not coming next year.
To our surprise party.